is the season for all your holiday favorites, like A Very Jonas Christmas Movie and Home Alone on Disney+.
Did I burn down the joint? I don't think so.
Then Hulu has National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
We're all in for a very big Christmas treat.
All of these and more streaming this holiday season. And right now, save big with our special Black Friday offer. Bundle Disney Plus and Hulu for just $4.99 a month for 1 year. Savings compared to current regular monthly price. Ends 12/1. Offer for ad-supported Disney Plus Hulu bundle only. Then $12.99 a month or then current regular monthly price. 18 plus terms apply.
With new, gentler scented Clorox disinfecting wipes, clean finally smells as good as it feels. On everything from lamps to ceiling fans. Even on your kid's toy shark. Oh, ouch. Clorox disinfecting wipes. Now available in crisp lemon. Find it on Amazon. Clorox. Clean feels good.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Dr. Psych Mom Show. Today, I'm going to be talking about why your wife may be terrified to give you sexual feedback. And it's not just going to be about you, and it's because you're such a big jerk, you know. It's going to be stuff that guys don't really think about that women learn from society, from other women, and from other men too, because it may not be you, but it may be you, so we'll get to that point too, that you just may be crap at receiving feedback. So everything about your wife giving you sexual feedback will be the point of this episode, and please do subscribe. My most recent subscriber episode was about why your wife may not like your default sexual positions that you do in bed, and all about sexual positions and what works and what women secretly think and may be scared to say. And then, of course, that relates to this episode, right? About why she's scared to say it. So when a lot of women are growing up and learning about sex and men and talking to their friends and reading on the internet and books and what have you, there's this idea that if you give a man bad sexual feedback or you say anything about his penis or he loses his erection and you're like mad or anything besides like acting like Mary Poppins about it, that he's gonna like lose his erection forever. It's like gonna be like a fairy tale. It's gonna be like a curse and he's never gonna have an erection again. And it's all going to be your fault because you're such a bitch. I'm not joking, though. I mean, I'm joking, but I'm not. Like, that is literally the feedback that you get is like, if you give a man negative sexual feedback, and like your mother could say this, or like your grandmother, or like your aunt. I mean, some people do really talk intergenerationally, and older women think this more even than younger women, that the man is so sensitive and God forbid you should, quote, emasculate him in any way. And it's this whole idea really of emasculation. And it's pervasive in the media that if you insult him or anything he could possibly consider to be insulting about his penis or his performance or his erection or whatever, then it's just going to all go away. He'll forever be sexually dysfunctional, and it's going to be because of you. And you alone will have destroyed, you know, the entirety of his sexual confidence. And it's funny, I'm hyperbolizing it, but it is really something that women think. And why do they think this? Already I told you, because older women think this and this kind of conventional wisdom gets passed down. Why did they think it? Well, you know, the society has been a lot focused on men and their penises over the millennia, and men used to be very much at the top of the, you know, anthill and very much in power. And although most men do not feel like it's like that anymore, and it's very much not like that anymore in the relationships that I see, which are much more egalitarian, and the women can say what they want, still this folk wisdom is passed down. Also, most women have had at least one experience with a man who is very sensitive to feedback, very rejection sensitive, and very sulky about any feedback or gaslighting or dismissive, such as, you know, you say to a man, something like, can you do it different? They say, I am doing that, right? Maybe they're not intending to gaslight you, but myriad women have had the experience where they've said to a man, like, can you touch me here? And he says, like, no. Like I can't, like I physically can't. I cannot both have intercourse and touch your breast at the same time. My body doesn't work like that. I'm not joking. And you know I'm not joking if you've heard shit like this. And this is men who feel put on the spot. They don't have a lot of sexual experience. And so they feel like they cannot do certain things. They're very scared. When men are anxious, young means anxious too, younger, less sexual experience, more anxious, they're very scared about keeping their erection because they, on the other hand, by the way, get the folk wisdom that if you ever get soft in front of a woman, she's going to laugh you out of the room. She's going to never think about you as a man again. You might as well be her little sister for all that she's going to want to be intimate with you or be attracted to you. And you will just turn into a eunuch. I mean, it's like crazy. So women are hearing that if, God forbid, he loses his erection for 1 second, you better pretend that it didn't happen. Like, just completely ignore it. Otherwise, he's going to explode out of embarrassment and shame and it'll be your fault. And he's hearing that if you do lose your erection, then the woman's never going to respect you again and she's going to laugh you out of the room. So people are hearing these competing things that make them terrified to be genuinely connected to each other and to have open discussions about sex because each of them is scared to show any genuine, vulnerable, real reaction or awareness, or they're not able to share fluidly as things happen because they're so scared that they're going to turn off the other person in some way. So anyway, so then frequently men think that their erection is very, it'll go away in a second, And so they have to very much concentrate on not doing anything where they could break their focus and therefore lose their erection. And this is why I have podcasts like Erections Wax and Wane is like one of my podcasts. Young men don't know that. Sometimes older men don't know that. They don't know that, like, for example, if they, let's say that she's trying to tell him to do something new in bed, like to manually stimulate her, and he doesn't really know how to do it. So he's trying to do it, but he feels a little bit on edge and he feels a little anxious. Well, he's going to lose his erection, right? Because he's in fight or flight almost by learning this new thing that's stressful for him. But then guess what? Especially with some stimulation, his penis can rise again like the phoenix and, he'll be fine and the erection will come back. But a lot of men, they're like very anxious. So they think that if the woman asks them to do something and it's going to kind of get them out of flow, then they will never return to a hard state. And, then of course, thinking that makes them so anxious that sometimes it doesn't return to a hard state, which is why a lot of erectile dysfunction, is related so much to anxiety. And I have a podcast on erectile dysfunction and premature ejaculation. Both of those are related to anxiety. And a lot of the work that men do to help those things is based on anxiety. It's based on basically what's the worst case scenario, type of exposure therapy, type of thinking about things differently, relaxing, understanding it isn't the end of the world, because a lot of guys think it is. If you lose your erection, it's the end of the world. But anyway, because of these interlocking issues of the man's anxiety about losing his erection and the woman's anxiety about giving him feedback that could make him lose his erection, a lot of people are stuck. And a lot of women have gotten negative feedback where the man basically, as I just said, dismisses her, gaslights her, acts sulky, acts anxious, acts angry because he's so anxious about potentially coming off bad to her. You see, so it's all interwound, right? It's this web of interlocking anxieties and these mythologies that are passed down about sex. And so then that's why women are literally terrified to give the man feedback. And what kind of feedback does she want to give? Sometimes she wants to say, we got to take a break because you're not hard. Like, literally, you're not hard. And so many couples will just power through this with like a half-hard penis. And it's like the emperor's new penis here. They are saying to each other that it's fine, it's fine. They're not saying anything, of course. But in their heads, they're thinking, okay, just ignore it. And then, it's it's not hard. So it hurts. It's like not the same amount of friction. It feels weird. It feels awkward. She's worried about it slipping out. It does slip out. They got to pretend it didn't slip out. It's like this whole thing. And many couples have these incredibly awkward encounters because the woman is scared to say, let's just take a break. And he's scared to say, let's just take a break, because both of them have some magical thinking around the fact that apparently the penis only works once per day, which is not true, right? And in those situations, by the way, if they take a break and let's say he goes down on her or he stimulates her to orgasm, guess what? Guess what rises again like the phoenix, the penis. So because he's not anxious anymore. Because now he gave her an orgasm. And in fact, Ian Kerner wrote that book, She Comes First, because he was having trouble with premature ejaculation, which he discusses in the intro to that book. And once he learned that he could get a woman off with oral sex, I don't know if it said that he did any better with his premature ejaculation, but either way, he was confident that he could get a woman off, and so then the entirety of sex did not feel so potentially fraught and difficult and, like he was going to have a catastrophe because now he had a way to get her off. And so point is that frequently the woman can't say that she wants to take a break because it's not hard. She can't say she wants to take a break because it hurts. So he is hard, but he's not having an orgasm. And so women don't like if it goes too long, by the way, either, because that starts to hurt and to rub and, friction. And it's just like, well, what's happening here? There doesn't seem to be any buildup to anything. And a lot of men, when they are on antidepressants or when they're anxious, they could have difficulty having an orgasm. I've talked to, many men who have that issue, especially as they get older and as they're on SSRIs or something like that. And either one, or anxiety. And so in that case, she might want to take a break too, but she's scared to say it because what if he was about to come and then he doesn't and then what? The world explodes. Nothing happens, but they're both very anxious about this entire catastrophe, right? So they keep on pretending that it has not become terrible, which it has. And every time that you pretend that the sex isn't awkward when it is awkward, you don't feel connected, you don't feel close, you don't feel like you could be honest with each other and genuine. Other things that women do is pretend that they like positions that they don't like, which was like the subscriber episode from yesterday. They pretend that they are into things that they're not into because, God forbid, again, that he would not be aroused anymore. So he's talking dirty. She hates whatever he's saying, but she feels like she can't interfere with the arousal process. Or, she really is kind of increasingly offended by things that he's saying, but she feels that she cannot turn him off in the middle of while he's turned on. So she listens to things that she doesn't really want to listen to in terms of dirty talk, especially the guys who are big into porn. They can say things that, the average non-porn actress finds very offensive, but they don't know because they just know from porn and the woman never says anything. Or he could just be technically bad, right? He could be bad at touching her vagina. He could be bad at oral sex. He could do things in a way that hurts her or is too light or is too hard or whatever. And she doesn't know how to tell him, how to give him any real-time feedback because as I said, some women have had negative experiences. The more sexual experience you've had, the more statistically likely you are to get a guy who did not take feedback well. Or, again, the same thing. She thinks that she will emasculate him, and then his entire self-esteem will have been destroyed by her. So she can't give him feedback. So how do you get out ahead of this? Well, I have said many times, you've got to make yourself somebody open to feedback if you're a man. You got to understand that women are against this whole, they're up against something big, this social construct that if they give you any negative feedback, you're going to die and your whole sex life will die and she'll be, crowned as the biggest bitch in the whole world. And that's hard to get away from. And so to counteract that, you probably want to overstate how deeply you want the feedback and how it's okay if you're not hard when you're getting the feedback. And if you don't believe this stuff, then you got to work on it internally first. So literally, like, if you may not believe it because you also listen to the wrong things and hear the wrong things and have the wrong thoughts that aren't real. And you also feel like if you lose your erection, like you only have this tiny little window to have an erection. And if it goes away, then you're never going to get it back because this one time when you were 17, and you were in bed with your high school girlfriend, that's what happened. And it was such an utter failure. And now, you're traumatized. Well, if shit like that happened to you, you should talk about it in therapy because you have a lot of fears around sex, and those are transmitting themselves to your partner as well. And so she's not able to give you good feedback because she's picking up on a lot of your anxiety, like how when you're an anxious parent, your kid picks up on your anxiety, or if you're an anxious pet owner, your pet picks up on your anxiety. Well, if you're anxious in bed, your partner picks up on your anxiety, whether you're a man or a woman. So you got to work on your own anxiety around sex and what it means to you and your performance anxiety, and all this stuff is really profitably discussed. Could be with our sexologist, could be with a therapist, whatever, and then secondarily, you need to actually start the conversation. I know I've not been so great with feedback in the past, or maybe I don't even know if I have been. Like, have you tried to give me feedback in the past? You might say to your wife, because I don't remember, but maybe you did and I didn't even know. Either way, sometimes I feel like we don't feel like we can talk to each other openly and then give an example. For example, if I'm taking too long to come, sometimes that happens when I get nervous. I feel like you're scared to say anything. Is that right? Or like, what's going on? And then frequently the woman will feel so close after those conversations because she was finally able to be honest with you and open with you instead of treating you like a little fragile China doll, glass piece of, whatever, China in the cabinet. Where else could I go with this analogy? Instead of being fragile and breakable, she thinks about you as like a strong person who could handle feedback. And that's awesome. People feel a lot closer. That's why a lot of sessions where people actually actively, openly talk about issues that they have in bed, they often go home and have better sex because finally they can be open and honest with each other. So talk to your partner. Use this episode as a jumping off point for yourself to have the bravery, if you're a woman, to talk to the guy more openly and say, sometimes I feel like I can't give you any feedback. And I've realized that's not much because of you. Sometimes, yeah, I've tried and it's not gone super well. Sometimes I don't try, but I want to enjoy our sex life more. So I want to be able to give you this feedback when I have it. And if that is a terrible conversation, then get into couples therapy. But most guys will be like, yeah, I really want you to. Like, about what? What is it? And they actually want to know because they actually want the experience to go well. And if you're a man, say what I said before, where you say, maybe I haven't been open to feedback, blah, 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 here's an example, etc. So those are your scripts. I hope you found this useful, and I'll talk to everybody soon. Have a great day, guys.